The message arrived at Earth's Interspecies Academy for Space Exploration on a quiet Tuesday morning. Commander Olivia Patterson stared at the holographic display, a smile slowly spreading across her face. The Galactic Council was sending them a ship. Not just any ship, but a Verlaxian scout vessel that the finest alien engineers in 3 sectors had deemed beyond repair. "Send in the senior cadets," Commander Patterson said to her assistant. She tapped her fingers on the desk, already forming a plan. 10 minutes later, 4 of the Academy's top engineering students stood at attention before her desk. They were all in their final year of training, representing the best Earth had to offer to the galactic community. "At ease," Patterson said, gesturing for them to sit. "I have a challenge for you. The Galactic Council is sending us a broken Verlaxian ship. They say it can't be fixed." Frank Miller, a stocky young man with calloused hands and a farmer's tan, raised an eyebrow. "Nothing's unfixable, ma'am." "Exactly what I was thinking, Cadet Miller." Patterson nodded. "The Verlaxians are sending 3 of their engineers along with it. They want to observe how we handle failure." Lisa Rodriguez leaned forward in her chair. "They're setting us up to fail?" "They believe we will fail," Patterson corrected. "And that's where they're wrong. Earth is classified as Deathworld XJ12 in the galactic records. Most species think our planet is a hellscape that should be impossible to live on. They underestimate what that environment has taught us." "Adaptability," said Nicole Carter, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. "Survival, and making do with whatever we've got," added Billy Jones, the smallest of the 4. "What he lacked in size, he made up for in brainpower." Commander Patterson stood up. "The ship arrives in 1 hour. You have 24 hours after that to prove the Verlaxians wrong. I'm assigning all 4 of you to this project." "Ma'am," Frank said, "what exactly is wrong with the ship? That's part of the challenge. The Verlaxians refuse to tell us. They say figuring that out is the first test." Patterson walked around her desk and looked each cadet in the eye. "Make Earth proud." The cadets saluted and filed out of the office, already discussing possibilities among themselves. "This is big," Lisa said as they walked down the corridor toward the main hangar. "The Verlaxians have some of the most advanced technology in the known galaxy." Billy nodded. "Their quantum fluctuation drives are unlike anything we've developed. I've only read about them in theoretical papers. I grew up fixing tractors older than my grandfather," Frank said with a shrug. "Most things break in similar ways no matter how fancy they are." Nicole laughed. "I'm not sure alien quantum technology is comparable to your grandpa's tractor, Frank." "We'll see," he replied with a grin. The ship arrived precisely on schedule, carried by a massive Galactic Council transport vessel. As the hangar doors closed behind it, the 4 cadets got their first look at their challenge. The Verlaxian scout ship was sleek and elegant, shaped like a teardrop with iridescent black metal that seemed to shift colors in the light. It was smaller than they expected, about the size of an Earth shuttle, but far more advanced. Even sitting lifeless on the hangar floor, it looked like it was moving. 3 Verlaxians emerged from the transport. They were tall, thin beings with pale, blue skin and 4 arms each. Their large eyes blinked vertically instead of horizontally, and they moved with careful precision, as if Earth's gravity was slightly uncomfortable. "Greetings, humans," said the tallest Verlaxian. "I am Chief Engineer Zexala. These are my colleagues, Venpor and Krelat. We have brought the vessel as requested by your Galactic Council representative." Commander Patterson stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth's Interspecies Academy. These are the cadets who will be working on your ship: Miller, Rodriguez, Jones, and Carter." The Verlaxians looked at the 4 humans with what could only be described as skepticism, though it was hard to read their alien expressions. "These are students?" Zexala asked. "Our best engineering cadets," Patterson confirmed. "Fascinating," said Venpor, the female Verlaxian. "You send untrained younglings to solve a problem our most experienced engineers could not." Frank stepped forward, extending his hand as he'd been taught in diplomatic training. "We're looking forward to the challenge." Zexala stared at Frank's hand, then slowly extended one of his forearms. They shook awkwardly. "May we inspect the vessel?" Nicole asked politely. "Of course," Krelot said. "Though I must warn you, the quantum fluctuation drive has suffered a cascading failure. By our engineering standards, this ship would need to be completely dismantled and rebuilt, a process that would take approximately 87 of your Earth days." "We have 24 hours, Lisa said confidently. "Let's get started." The Verlaxians exchanged looks that seemed doubtful, but they led the cadets to the ship. Inside, the vessel was a maze of technology far beyond typical human design. Control surfaces had no visible buttons or screens, only smooth panels that responded to Verlaxian touch. The engine room, located at the rear of the teardrop shape, was filled with components that seemed to phase in and out of normal space. "This is the quantum fluctuation drive," Zexala explained, pointing to a central column filled with swirling silver-blue energy that occasionally sparked and dimmed. "The failure began here and spread to the navigation system, life support, and power distribution." Billy circled the drive, his eyes wide with fascination. "It's beautiful." "It is useless," Krelot corrected. "The patterns are degraded beyond repair. Our standard procedure would be complete replacement." Frank knelt down and examined where the drive connected to the floor. "What's this material?" "Quantum-stabilized neodymium alloy," Venpor answered. "It cannot be replicated with your Earth technology." Nicole looked at the control panels. "Can we access the diagnostic systems?" "They are non-functional," Zexala said. Like most of the ship, the cadets spread out, each examining different parts of the vessel. The Verlaxians watched with thinly veiled amusement as the humans tapped, prodded, and studied the alien technology. After 30 minutes of inspection, the cadets gathered in a corner to discuss their findings privately. "They think we can't do this," Lisa whispered. "Because they don't understand how we think," Frank replied. Billy nodded excitedly. "The navigation AI is still partially active. It's stuck in a loop, but it's not dead. And the drive isn't completely failed," Nicole added. "It's more like it's disconnected from its control systems." "So what's the plan?" Frank asked, looking at his teammates. Lisa grinned. "We do what humans do best. We improvise, adapt, and make it work with whatever we've got." "The Verlaxians say we have 24 hours, Billy said. Frank checked his watch and smiled. "Let's show them what Deathworld Cadets can do before lunch." The cadets wasted no time getting to work. They moved with purpose as the Verlaxian engineers watched from a safe distance, their vertical eyelids blinking rapidly in what seemed like confusion. Frank took charge of the physical inspection. He ran his fingers along the smooth edges of the quantum fluctuation drive, noting how the metal felt warm in some places and cool in others. Growing up on a Nebraska farm had taught him that machines often speak through temperature variations. "This connection is completely severed," he said, pointing to where a glowing blue cable had detached from the main power coupling. "But the break is clean." Lisa knelt beside him and studied the broken connection. "On Earth, we'd just splice these together, but I'm guessing that's not how Verlaxian technology works." "Incorrect approach," called Zexala from across the room. "Quantum conduits cannot be spliced. The entanglement patterns would collapse." Frank and Lisa exchanged knowing looks. They had expected resistance. Meanwhile, Billy had managed to access a small portion of the ship's computer system. His fingers danced across the control surface as he muttered to himself. Unlike standard keyboards, the Verlaxian interface responded to specific pressure patterns and electromagnetic signals from their four-fingered hands. "The navigation system is locked in a security protocol," Billy said. "It thinks the ship is under attack and has shut down all non-essential systems." Nicole had set up a portable analysis station and was examining samples of the ship's fuel and coolant. "This quantum fluid is fascinating," she said. "It's reacting strangely to Earth's atmosphere. The molecular structure is shifting." The four cadets gathered in the center of the engine room, speaking quietly so the Verlaxians couldn't hear. "We need to approach this differently," Frank said. They keep telling us what won't work according to their rules. Lisa nodded. So we need to make new rules. Human rules. The ship is actually in better shape than they think, Nicole reported. The fuel system isn't damaged, it's just reacting to our environment. If we can stabilize it, we might be able to restart the drive. Billy held up his tablet. I've been mapping the error loops in the AI system. It's stuck because it's following standard Verlaxian emergency protocols. But those protocols were never designed for Earth conditions. Can you bypass the protocols? Lisa asked. Billy smiled. I think so. But it would be considered dangerous by Verlaxian standards. Do it, Frank said. Nicole, what do you need to stabilize the fuel? Iron, she replied. Simple earth iron. The quantum particles in their fuel are attracted to it. We could use it as a focusing agent. Frank turned to Lisa. And the broken connections? Lisa glanced at the watching Verlaxians and lowered her voice. We can't splice them the normal way, but what if we created a bypass? Something temporary that would channel the energy without trying to recreate their technology. Frank nodded. Like jumping a dead battery. Exactly, Lisa agreed. Human solutions for an alien problem. The cadets broke from their huddle and moved with renewed purpose. Frank headed to a storage locker and returned with a toolbox full of Earth equipment. The Verlaxians watched with increasing alarm as he pulled out simple tools. Wrenches, pliers, wire cutters. What are you doing? Krelot asked, all four of his arms gesturing in agitation. Improvising, Frank replied with a smile. Lisa had begun creating a bypass system using copper wire and simple conductive materials. Billy was deep in the computer systems, writing code to trick the AI into accepting new parameters. Nicole had disappeared into the Academy's lab and returned with iron filings and a small electromagnetic device. Venpour approached Nicole, watching as she carefully introduced iron particles into a sample of the quantum fuel. This is not in any repair manual, the Verlaxian said, sounding both disturbed and curious. Nicole looked up. That's because we're not following a manual. We're adapting. In the corner, Billy gave a shout of triumph. I'm in. I've convinced the navigation AI that this is a special maintenance mode, not an emergency shutdown. Some of the ship's lights flickered on, casting an eerie blue glow through the engine room. The Verlaxian stepped back, clearly surprised. Impossible, whispered Zexala. Frank and Lisa had managed to create a makeshift connection between the power source and the drive systems. It wasn't pretty. Copper wiring wrapped in heat-resistant tape connected to sophisticated alien technology through adapter plates Frank had quickly fabricated. Ready on our end, Lisa called. Nicole carefully introduced her iron-based catalyst into the fuel system through an access port. The quantum particles are realigning, she reported. Stability at 62% and rising. Commander Patterson entered the hangar, drawn by reports of unusual activity. She stood back, watching her cadets work with quiet pride. How long have they been at it? She asked a nearby technician. 3 hours, ma'am. The Verlaxians had given up trying to interfere and now watched with fascination. Their technical assumptions were being challenged with every move the humans made. Quantum fuel stabilized at 89%, Nicole announced. That should be enough. Billy looked up from his tablet. Navigation system is ready. I've bypassed the security protocols and created a simplified startup sequence. Frank and Lisa finished securing their bypass connections. Power routing complete, Lisa said. It's not pretty, but it should work. For how long? Venpour asked skeptically. Long enough to prove it can be done, Frank replied. The 4 cadets gathered around the main control panel. Billy had modified the interface to respond to human touch patterns. Ready? Lisa asked, looking at her teammates. They nodded. Initiating startup sequence, Billy said, pressing a sequence of controls. The ship hummed to life. The quantum fluctuation drive began to glow brighter, the swirling energy inside it becoming more organized and coherent. Status lights across the bridge turned from red to amber to green. Drive stability at 72%, Nicole reported, checking. Her instruments. That's well above minimum operational threshold. Power flow stable through the bypass, Lisa confirmed. The Verlaxians stood in stunned silence. Zexala approached the main console, his long fingers hovering over the displays, as if afraid to touch them. This should not be possible, he said quietly. You used primitive materials and techniques that violate every principle of quantum engineering. Frank shrugged. Sometimes you have to break the rules to fix what's broken. Commander Patterson stepped forward. How much more time do you need to get it fully operational? The cadets looked at each other, calculating silently. 2 more hours, Lisa said confidently. We'll have it running at full capacity by lunch. Billy grinned. And I think we can push it beyond standard specifications. Their safety margins are way too conservative. The Verlaxians exchanged alarmed glances at this suggestion. Very well, Commander Patterson said. Carry on, cadets. I look forward to your full report. As she turned to leave, she couldn't help but smile at the expressions on the Verlaxians' faces. Earth might be classified as a death world, but its people had learned valuable lessons from their harsh environment. Lessons about adaptation, improvisation, and never accepting that something couldn't be fixed. With the ship's basic systems now online, the cadets moved into the next phase of their repairs. The Verlaxians had shifted from skepticism to cautious curiosity, following the humans around and asking questions about their methods. Your approach defies all standard protocols, Zexala said as he watched Frank disassemble a section of the drive housing. Frank smiled as he carefully removed a series of glowing components. On Earth we have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When you live on a planet that's constantly trying to kill you, you learn to think beyond the manual. Lisa had moved to the navigation console, where she was making adjustments to the steering mechanisms. These thrusters are aligned for Verlaxian precision, she explained to Venpor. But they're too sensitive for practical maneuvering in Earth's atmosphere. The alignment is perfect by Verlaxian standards, Venpor replied, confusion evident in her large eyes. Perfect isn't always practical, Lisa said. Sometimes you need systems that can handle imperfection. Billy had set up a portable computer station where he was rewriting portions of the ship's operating system. His fingers flew across his keyboard as he integrated human programming logic with the alien code. This is fascinating, he told Krelat. Your systems are designed to fail if they detect any errors. Ours are designed to work around them. Errors are unacceptable in spacecraft, Krelat stated firmly. Errors are inevitable, Billy countered. The trick is teaching the system to adapt to them. Nicole had converted a corner of the engine room into a makeshift chemistry lab. She was testing different compounds, seeking the optimal mixture to stabilize the quantum fuel. Her experiment table was covered with small vials containing various Earth elements mixed with samples of the alien fuel. The iron catalyst is working, but it's not perfect, she explained to Commander Patterson, who had returned to check on their progress. I'm trying to create a more stable compound by adding carbon and trace amounts of copper. Will it last? Patterson asked. Long enough to prove our point, Nicole replied. For a permanent solution, we'd need to redesign parts of the fuel system. But for now, this will work. As midday approached, the cadets gathered to coordinate their efforts for the final push. We've got about an hour until lunch, Frank said, checking his watch. How are we doing? Navigation and life support are fully operational, Lisa reported. I've realigned the thrusters and calibrated them for Earth conditions. The AI is running on my modified code, Billy said. It's not as elegant as the original, but it's more flexible. It can handle variations that would have crashed the system before. Fuel stability is at 94%, Nicole added. I've created a catalyst that should hold for at least 48 hours. Frank nodded. I've rebuilt the power distribution system using some of our Earth metals as conductors. It's not as efficient as their original design, but it's more resilient. The Verlaxians had been listening to this exchange with increasing amazement. You have accomplished in hours what our engineers claimed would take months, Zexala admitted. Though I must note that your solutions are temporary. Sometimes temporary is all you need to get home, Frank replied. Perfect can wait until you're safe. The cadets moved back to their stations to make final adjustments. Lisa and Frank worked together to secure the modified power connections, while Billy and Nicole fine-tuned the interaction between the fuel system and the navigation controls. As they worked, other students and instructors from the academy began to gather in the hangar, word having spread about the remarkable progress being made on the alien vessel. "Is it true?" asked one wide-eyed first-year cadet. "You're fixing a Verlaxian ship with Earth parts?" "Not fixing," Frank corrected with a smile. "Improving." The final test approached. The 4 cadets took positions at different stations around the ship. The Verlaxians stood back, their posture tense as if expecting disaster. "All systems ready," Lisa called from the pilot seat. "Fuel mixture stable," Nicole confirmed. "Operating system running at 99% efficiency," Billy reported. "Power distribution secure," Frank added. "We're good to go." Lisa took a deep breath and pressed a sequence of controls on the console. The quantum fluctuation drive hummed loudly, the swirling energy inside it glowing brighter and more organized than before. The entire ship vibrated slightly, then settled into a smooth, quiet hum. "Main systems online," Lisa announced, "running at 112% of standard capacity." The crowd of onlookers broke into applause. The Verlaxians' expressions were impossible to read, but their stunned silence spoke volumes. "How is this possible?" Zexala finally asked. "You've exceeded the design specifications," Billy grinned. "Your systems had too many safety margins built in. We streamlined the code to allow for more efficient power usage." "But that increases risk," Krelat protested. "Life is risk," Nicole replied simply. "Especially on a death world." Commander Patterson stepped forward, beaming with pride at her cadets. "I believe this proves that the ship was not, in fact, beyond repair." Benpor moved closer to examine the control readouts. "These modifications violate 17 different Verlaxian engineering principles," she said. But there was a new tone in her voice, and something like respect. "Sometimes principles need to be broken," Frank said, wiping grease from his hands. "Especially when they stand between you and survival." Lisa stood up from the pilot's seat and stretched. "We've done more than just repair it," she said. "We've made improvements. The fuel efficiency is better, the navigation is more responsive, and the AI is more adaptable." "At the cost of long-term stability," Zexala pointed out. "True," Billy acknowledged. "Our fixes won't last forever, but they'll last long enough to get this ship to a proper facility where more permanent repairs can be made." "Which is all you really needed," Nicole added. "A way to get it moving again." Commander Patterson checked her watch. "It's 11:50, she announced. "I believe that means you've completed your task before lunch as promised." The cadets exchanged triumphant looks. Frank's stomach growled loudly, breaking the tension and causing everyone to laugh. "Speaking of lunch," he said, "I think we've earned ours." As the cadets prepared to leave the ship, Zexala approached them. All 4 of his hands clasped in what they had learned was a Verlaxian gesture of respect. "We have underestimated what growing up on a death world teaches," he said quietly. "Your methods are unorthodox, even dangerous by our standards. But they are effective." "That's humanity for you," Lisa replied with a smile. "We make do with what we have." "And sometimes," Frank added, "what we have is just enough ingenuity to make the impossible possible." The smell of food from the academy cafeteria wafted into the hangar. The Verlaxian ship, once declared Irreparable, hummed with new life behind them as the Deathworld Cadets headed off to lunch, already discussing what other improvements they might make in the afternoon. The celebration was cut short by a sudden alarm blaring throughout the hangar. Red warning lights flashed along the walls of the Verlaxian ship, and the smooth hum of the engine changed to a higher-pitched whine. "What's happening, Commander?" Patterson demanded, rushing back toward the vessel. The cadets sprinted back to the ship with the Verlaxians close behind. Inside, the control panels were flashing with symbols that shifted rapidly between colors. "The defense systems," Krelat exclaimed. his forearms moving in agitated patterns. They've activated automatically. Billy jumped into the pilot seat and quickly scanned the displays. The ship thinks it's being hijacked. Our modifications triggered a security protocol we didn't know about. Lisa moved to the engine room access. It's diverting power to the weapon systems. Can you shut it down? Patterson asked. Zexala stepped forward. Impossible. Once the defense protocol activates, it can only be deactivated with Verlaxian command codes, which we do not possess. This vessel is a military scout ship. Its primary directive is to protect itself. Frank looked at the panicking Verlaxians and then at his fellow cadets. What exactly will it do? The ship will target what it perceives as the greatest threat. Venpor explained, her voice shaking. In this case, likely your Academy's power core. Nicole checked her scanner. The weapon is charging. We have maybe 10 minutes before it reaches full power. Commander Patterson immediately activated her communicator. This is Commander Patterson. Begin emergency evacuation of the main Academy building. Power down the main reactor. This is not a drill. Frank gathered the team in a tight circle. We still have time. We can fix this. We can't shut it down directly, Billy said. But we might be able to trick it again like we did with the navigation system. Nicole nodded. The defense system must have sensors to identify threats. If we could blind those sensors temporarily, or redirect the energy, Lisa suggested. The weapon system is drawing power from our modified engine. If we could reroute that power somewhere else. Frank snapped his fingers. The training field outside has lightning rods designed to handle massive energy discharges. If we could channel the weapon discharge there, we'd need to modify the targeting system, Billy said. And create a path for the energy, Lisa added. And prevent the system from simply rerouting around our changes, Nicole finished. The team broke apart, each moving to a different section of the ship. The spectators were being evacuated from the hangar, but Commander Patterson stayed, coordinating the Academy's emergency response while keeping an eye on her cadets. What can we do to help? Zexala asked, surprising everyone. Frank looked up from where he was examining the weapon housing. You know this ship better than we do. We need to understand exactly how the targeting system works. The Verlaxians hesitated only briefly before joining the humans. Krelot worked with Billy at the main computer, explaining the intricacies of the security protocols. Venpor helped Nicole analyze the sensor array, while Zexala assisted Frank and Lisa with the weapon systems. The targeting scanner uses quantum entanglement to lock onto energy signatures, Krelot explained to Billy. It's searching for the largest power source in the vicinity. Billy typed furiously on his tablet. So if we create a more appealing target... Meanwhile, Lisa had opened a panel beneath the weapon housing. These power relays are similar to the ones we modified earlier, she told Frank. If we disconnect these three and cross-connect to this auxiliary system, we could create a feedback loop, Frank finished. But we'd need to insulate it somehow. Nicole and Venpor were working on a chemical compound in the lab area. This mixture should disrupt the quantum scanning long enough for Billy's program to work, Nicole explained. But we need to inject it directly into the sensor housing. That housing is heavily protected, Venpor warned. Direct access would be dangerous. Dangerous is what we do best, Nicole replied with a grim smile. 7 minutes had passed. The weapon was more than halfway charged. Status report, Frank called out. I've created a program that should make the lightning rod field look like a massive power source, Billy said. But I need 30 seconds of sensor disruption to upload it. We've got the chemical disruptor ready, Nicole reported. But we need access to the main sensor array at the top of the ship. I can reroute the weapon power through these auxiliary systems, Lisa added. But someone needs to manually disconnect the primary relays when the weapon tries to fire. Frank nodded. All right. Nicole, use the maintenance shaft to reach the sensor array. Billy, be ready with your program the moment the sensors go blind. Lisa and I will handle the power reroute. This plan has a high probability of failure, Zexala warned. So does doing nothing, Frank replied. The team moved into position. Nicole climbed through a narrow maintenance shaft to reach the top of the ship, carrying her chemical compound in a pressure injector. Frank and Lisa positioned themselves near the weapon housing, tools ready. Billy sat at the main console, his program prepared to upload. 2 minutes until full charge, Krelot announced, monitoring the system. Nicole reached the sensor array and carefully positioned her injector against a seam in the housing. "Ready on my mark," she called through her communicator. "Standing by," Billy replied. "In position," Frank confirmed. Commander Patterson watched anxiously from the hangar entrance, ready to order a complete evacuation if necessary. 3, 2, 1. "Now," Nicole called, injecting the chemical compound into the sensor array. The ship shuddered as the sensors temporarily went offline. Billy immediately uploaded his program, his fingers flying across the keyboard. "Targeting system is recalibrating," he announced. "It's working. The ship now thinks the lightning rod field is a massive reactor." "Weapon at full charge," Lisa warned. "It's about to fire!" As the weapon began its firing sequence, Frank and Lisa simultaneously disconnected the primary relays and connected the auxiliary route. The ship vibrated violently as energy surged through pathways it was never designed to use. "It's working," Frank shouted over the noise. "The energy is being redirected." Outside, a brilliant beam of energy shot from the ship toward the training field. The lightning rods absorbed the blast, channeling it safely into the ground as they were designed to do. The discharge lasted for nearly 20 seconds before slowly fading. Inside the ship, systems began to return to normal. The red warning lights stopped flashing and the engine resumed its regular hum. "Defense system has reset," Billy reported, checking the displays. "It now recognizes us as authorized users." Nicole climbed down from the maintenance shaft, her face smudged with grease but wearing a triumphant smile. "Quick thinking works better than perfect planning sometimes." The Verlaxians stood in stunned silence, their alien faces showing what might have been shock or possibly admiration. "You risked your lives," Zexala said finally, "to save the ship and your academy." Frank shrugged. "That's what you do on a death world. You adapt, you overcome, and you protect what matters." Commander Patterson approached, relief evident in her expression. "Well done, cadets, and thank you," she added, nodding to the Verlaxians. "Your assistance was invaluable." "We have much to learn from each other," Venpor admitted. "Our precision and your adaptability together accomplished what neither could do alone." Lisa checked the time and laughed. "And would you look at that? It's still only 12:30. We fixed an irreparable ship and saved the academy all before lunch is over." "Speaking of which," Frank said, his stomach growling again, "I think we've more than earned that meal now." As they exited the ship together, humans and Verlaxians side by side, Billy couldn't help but add, "Just wait until the Galactic Council hears about this." Deathworlders, 1. Impossible problems, 0. News of the cadets' achievement spread quickly through the academy and beyond. By the time they returned from lunch, the hangar was filled with curious onlookers. Academy students and teachers stood alongside representatives from Earth's government and the Galactic Council. A tall, slender alien with midnight blue skin and 6 eyes stepped forward as Commander Patterson and the cadets approached. This was Ambassador Drelza, the Galactic Council's senior representative to Earth. "I came as soon as I received word," the ambassador said, voice melodic and precise. "I must see this miracle for myself." Frank shifted uncomfortably under the attention. "It's not really a miracle, Ambassador. Just good old Earth ingenuity." "Nevertheless," Drelza replied, "to repair a ship deemed irreparable by the finest Verlaxian engineers is no small feat." The 3 Verlaxian engineers stood nearby, their posture noticeably different from earlier. The stiffness of superiority had been replaced by something like thoughtful curiosity. "It was a collaboration," Lisa said, nodding toward the Verlaxians. "We couldn't have done it without their knowledge of the systems." Zexala stepped forward. "The credit belongs to the humans. They showed us possibilities we had never considered. Our rigid adherence to standard protocols blinded us to unconventional solutions." Ambassador Drelza's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "Explain this unconventional approach." Nicole smiled. "We can show you." The cadets led the growing crowd into the ship. Frank and Lisa pointed out their makeshift power connections and bypasses. Billy demonstrated his modified operating system that allowed the ship's AI to adapt, rather than shut down when encountering problems. Nicole explained her chemical catalyst that stabilized the quantum fuel in Earth's atmosphere. These solutions are temporary, Venpor added, but effective. Often, temporary solutions are all you need to survive until you can implement permanent ones, Billy said. That's the Deathworld approach. Ambassador Drelza ran a long finger along one of Frank's jury-rigged connections. Most interesting. And you say the ship is functioning at above standard capacity? 117% now, Lisa confirmed, checking the latest readings. We made some additional adjustments after the defense system incident. A murmur ran through the crowd. The weapons discharge had been visible from most of the academy grounds, but few knew exactly what had happened. Commander Patterson stepped forward. The cadets not only repaired the ship, but also handled an unexpected security protocol activation. They prevented what could have been a serious incident. With Verlaxian assistance, Frank added quickly, not wanting to take all the credit. Krieglot nodded. We shared knowledge, but the humans showed remarkable courage and quick thinking. On our world, such a situation would have required evacuation and a specialized response team. On Earth, Nicole said with a shrug, we're all specialized response teams. You have to be, to survive here. Ambassador Drelza made a sound that might have been a laugh. Perhaps that is why your species has advanced so quickly. The Galactic Council classified Earth as Deathworld XJ12, believing it would limit your development. Instead, it seems to have accelerated it. Pressure makes diamonds, Frank said simply. I believe this demonstration has implications beyond a single repaired ship, the ambassador continued. The Galactic Academy of Sciences has long maintained that different species should specialize in their evolutionary strengths. Verlaxians in precision engineering, Dorvans in theoretical mathematics, humans in... They paused. Fixing the unfixable, Lisa suggested with a grin. Indeed, Drelza agreed. But perhaps what we are seeing here is the value of cross-species collaboration. Precision combined with adaptability, theory enhanced by practical application. Commander Patterson nodded. That has always been the mission of Earth's Interspecies Academy, to bring together the strengths of different worlds. A mission that has been proven successful today, the ambassador said. I will bring this report to the full Galactic Council. I suspect there will be interest in expanding such collaborative efforts. Zexala approached the cadets. Our engineering guild would be interested in an exchange program. Perhaps some of our engineers could train here, while some of your cadets could visit our shipyards. Frank's eyes lit up. I'd sign up for that in a heartbeat. As would I, Billy agreed. The council will also want to know about your defensive innovations, Ambassador Drelza added. The ability to redirect such powerful energy discharges could have significant safety applications. That was mostly Lisa's work, Nicole said, nudging her friend forward. Lisa blushed. It was a team effort, and honestly, it was a desperate move made under pressure. Sometimes pressure brings out the best solutions, Zexala said, surprising everyone with his adoption of human thinking. Commander Patterson checked her watch. Ambassador, we've prepared a formal reception in the main hall to celebrate this achievement. Would you and the Verlaxian team care to join us? As the officials and most of the crowd moved toward the exit, the 4 cadets lingered behind with the Verlaxian engineers. What will happen to the ship now? Frank asked. It will be studied, Krieglot replied. Your modifications challenge many of our fundamental engineering principles. There is much to learn here. Will you remove our fixes? Nicole asked. Venpor's mouth formed what the cadets had learned was a Verlaxian smile. Not immediately. We wish to understand how such seemingly crude adjustments can produce such efficient results. Sometimes crude is effective, Lisa said, especially when resources are limited. A concept we are only beginning to appreciate, Zexala admitted. Billy looked around at the ship, pride evident in his expression. From irreparable to exceeding specifications in less than a day, Not bad for a bunch of Deathworld Cadets, Andy. Important lesson for us all, Krelot said thoughtfully. Perhaps there are no truly irreparable problems, only insufficient perspectives on finding solutions. As they walked together toward the reception, Frank fell into step beside Zexala. You know, he said, on Earth we have another saying, necessity is the mother of invention. An interesting concept, the Verlaxian replied. On my world we say perfection is the goal of all endeavors. Frank smiled. Maybe the truth is somewhere in between. Perfection is a great goal, but necessity gets the job done. A philosophy. Worthy of further exploration, Zexala agreed. Outside the hangar, the afternoon sun shone down on the academy grounds. Students were already returning to their regular activities, though many paused to watch the unusual sight of the cadets and Verlaxians walking side by side. Ambassador Drelza, walking ahead with Commander Patterson, turned back to look at them. This is what progress looks like, they said quietly. Different worlds, different minds working together. And fixing the unfixable, Commander Patterson added with pride. Frank glanced at his watch and laughed. And all before the end of lunch. Break. Just another day for Deathworld Cadets.